Hello and welcome to Unit 2, that is Media's Influence on Research. We are going to look at how media shapes public perception and policy. Unit Overview and Learning Goals. This unit explores how media shapes public perception of research, media's influence on policy making, and biases in reporting and evaluation strategies. The learning goals are to understand media influence, to analyze case studies, and to engage in scenario-based responses. How media shapes public perception. Media shapes public perception in several ways. One, in shaping narrative around science. Two, building or eroding trust. And three, amplifying specific research agendas. Examples include climate change awareness, vaccine hesitancy or acceptance. For example, during the COVID-19, there were several vaccines that were developed, but because of media amplification, there was some hesitancy or acceptance in some vaccines, and that is how media influences public perception. So we look at media framing and public trust. What are the techniques that are used by media in framing? So one is emphasis stroke framing bias, use of visuals and headlines, and selective sourcing. We are going to look at framing in the next slide. Impact, misunderstanding of correlation versus causation. Most of the time the research talks about correlation, but media reports causation. And then the other impact is on emotional reactions over factual reasoning. Key concepts and glossary terms. So I talked about media framing. Media framing is the way information is presented by the media to shape audience interpretation, emphasizing certain aspects while omitting others. A case in example is correlation and causation. Whereas this research will talk about correlation, media will report this aspect causes this one, causation. The other concept is scientific skepticism, which is a critical approach that questions the validity of scientific claims until they are supported by evidence. The other concept is misinformation. This is false or misleading information that is spread regardless of intent to deceive. The other concept is about policy advocacy, which is efforts to influence public policy and resource allocation decisions within political, economic, and social systems. And then the last one is about public opinion formation, the process through which individuals develop their views and beliefs based on information, media exposure, and social influence. So the role of media in policy decision making. Media can influence legislative priorities, can pressure public officials, and can disseminate research to wider audience. Example, tobacco regulation influenced by media coverage of research findings. Real-world case study, coffee and cancer. So the media will have the headline, coffee causes cancer, while the study results are weak correlation found, not causation. So media has sensational headlines. Strategy, Blog posts to clarify facts and educate the public audience is a strategy that can be used to mitigate the sensation headlines. Best practices for responsible media engagement: use clear, accessible language, focus on context, not just results, choose the right media platform, anticipate misinterpretation, and prepare responses. Interactive activity summary: contribute to the glossary, participate in forum discussion on policy impact, do case study analysis, collaborative bias report, do a blog reflection, and scenario-based role play. Write up and takeaway: media shapes both perception and policy. Researchers must evaluate media impact critically. Clear strategic communication builds trust. Engage responsibly to amplify research impact. That is the end, and thank you for listening to me.